Okay, hello. Welcome to Hanging With 2017. We'll just shoot through the guests because we've got a lot of people with us tonight.
Hi, I'm Chris, founder of London Horror Society.
Richard, director of feature film Gossett.
I'm Bruna. I haven't done anything.
Bruna's just Bruna.
Damon, I directed some short films including The Tour and The Package.
Scott, I directed a short film Silent Your Shadow and Echoes of the Past.
James, and I run the Unrestricted View Film Festival.
Oh, give them a round of applause. Welcome everybody. Absolutely love her. And Bruna is somebody, just in case you're wondering. Chris, we'll start with you. Okay. 2017, good year for horror?
Yeah, I think I was trying to think when we did this time last year, I think the general consensus was pretty good. 2017 had a lot to live up to, but no, I think in terms of films, there's been some strong contenders, which I think we'll go into a little bit. But overall, there's been some fun festivals, some new festivals, which have been good. Growth of existing festivals, which has been always keen to see, which just shows that people were more into horror than I think they have been over the last few years, which is good. Or they certainly had outlets where they can go and share their love with other people, which is always good. But yeah, overall, I think it's been alright.
Yeah, I mean, talking of film festivals, Mr. WREN.
Yes.
At the end there, the second year for the Unrestricted View.
Yes, second for the festival and the horror festival as well. We do 2 each year. But yes, it was great. And this year, I think, especially to talk about sharing the love, there felt like there was lots of it this year at that festival. Lots of filmmakers supporting each other, coming to. I mean, you came to see so many films.
Yeah, I was a bit boggle-eyed by the end of it, but there was a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, we were really pleased with it.
Yeah, and there was a really nice vibe. I know you guys. Well, you had Dogged play there.
Yeah.
And Chris and you. Well, you both had films play there as well. I mean, the only thing with the Unrestricted View Horror Film Festival was a bit of controversy with the best actor in a short. I thought it was a little bit.
No, I don't think there was.
No. Maybe it was just me. I thought it was a little bit of controversy, but it was a fantastic festival. It was a really good festival. And
Were you not up for best actor?
Shut up.
Okay.
I'll have some chocolate. No, it was a really good festival, and I think the atmosphere was really nice. It was, and went to a few festivals this year. 666 was a good fest up in Manchester, and I thought 666 and John Restricted View. I thought there was just a nice personal feel about it.
Yeah.
It felt like a nice little community. Everybody was going in there supporting each other.
Good. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the aim, really, isn't it? I think if you can go there and see what everyone else is up to, and and catch up with friends, it's good. I think that's a very important part of the festival.
Yeah, and it's going to be next year as well, lined up already.
Yes, and hopefully a bit bigger. We've the festival in April. We've joined forces with Screen on the Green, the Everyman, and we're also talking to View. So hopefully we will have a much bigger festival next year in terms of where we screen different, so we can have nice big premieres in proper cinemas. No, our little cinema, I'm very proud of it.
Oh, it's a great venue. Cinema. It's a very cool little venue. It's nice. Richard, you had your film play there. That's where I saw them. I finally got to see it.
Yeah, no, it was a great fun time, and I think it was almost sold out when we were there, and it was really nice to meet lots of new people. Yeah, for sure.
And are you happy with the response that you've had to Dogged?
Over the moon with it, really, and kind of quite surprised, but it's been fantastic. We've won 5 awards and we've got 14 award nominations, and when we set out to make the film, we kind of didn't have any illusions about it at all. We were kind of just setting out to make a film that we would want to watch ourselves, and it's garnered momentum, and it's been brilliant.
Has everyone seen? You all seen Dogged? You haven't seen it yet? Oh, I don't see.
Sorry.
Heathens, Richard. You've seen it,
yes,
haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know James has seen it. Yeah, it's a great film. It's a really good piece, which is a relief because I mean, obviously, when you know the filmmaker and you've met them a few times, and then you sit down to watch their film, all you're sitting there is thinking, "Please don't be shit." Yeah. You're not worried about it being actually a good film. All you're thinking, just don't be shit. Give me something to hold on to. But it is actually really, really good.
Thank you.
Which, so well done, Richard. And I think it will just carry on being successful because it's. Have you got distribution as well?
Yeah. So Left Films have picked it up and they're releasing it UK, Ireland, and North America in April. So
there you go. Look out.
Yeah,
look out for that. And Damon, you had a film play there as well. I mean, I'm just centering this whole thing around Mr. Wren here. You had a film play there as well.
Yeah, had my latest short stolen play there, which was nice. It was a piece which I've been taking much longer getting my feature written than I expected, and I just wanted to make sure I kept my practice going. So I dug up an old script, rewrote it a little bit. It went from pre-production to complete in about 2.5 months. So it's really nice to actually got some plays at some festivals. So yeah, I was delighted.
Yeah, good. And you got nominations.
Did get nominations? Yes, yeah. We're up for the best.
Was it best short?
No, I can't remember. Was it best short or best horror moment? I think it was best horror moment we were up for.
I think it was
yeah.
Was it up for best short as well?
Best short.
Oh, it was. Yes, because I was the only one that wasn't on your night.
I'm so glad they're sitting far apart now. Sorry, Chris. And Scott, you had a movie play there as well. You had a short.
Yeah, Echoes of the Past, which Chris helped produce, and you yourself was in it.
Were you up for a nomination?
I was up for a nomination.
You were
funny enough, Damon, I was up for Best Actor in a Short, and I didn't win it.
It's only one short as well. We won it.
But the guy who won it is very good. Andrew Shire's a great actor.
Was also in a film.
Very well.
I produced as well. So kind of a win-win there. Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
No, he did deserve it. Andrew, you were a very good actor. He really deserved
it. Andrew killed it in Tollbooth. That film. But we was really happy with the turnout. We got a decent turnout for the day we was on. The reaction to the short's been amazing, and then to bring it home to England and to have our UK premiere with Bushe was
and we had the world premiere in
LA at Shriekfest. So that was like when we set out, that was like the number one goal,
Has that been the highlight of the year for you? So,
without a doubt. Yeah.
Because anyone that doesn't know Scott always wanted to premiere a film. That was Shriekfest was your goal, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wanted to do my previous one silently there, but we didn't get in. So. But then I got like this really lovely email from Denise, who runs it, and she was like, "You were literally just short of making it with silently. She's like, if you stay on this track and just keep trying to do the like character-driven horror you're doing, like you'll get there." So then when we done Echoes, it was like, right, let's fucking carry that. Can I swear? Sorry.
Well, you have done.
Let's carry that on and really go for it. And and then when we submitted it, we found out we were in it. Yeah, that was.
I remember we found out it was at Fright Fest.
At Fright Fest,
yeah.
We found out.
Yeah, let's get that quiet.
It's great. But it's cool, and then we got to go out there. Chris come out there as well, and to I've been lucky enough that some of my films have played quite a few festivals silently. Definitely, played a lot, and I was there. But the culture in England is really amazing. But it's very small in a way. It's very like it's great that we all know each other, but it's also a very tight knit community, which is great on one aspect. But then it just doesn't feel like the scope's there. That when you go to LA, you're all around it no matter where you go, and it was just a completely different experience. And I knew it was going to be at this place called ROWNTREE Studios. I had no idea what that was, and then I turn up in my Uber, and it's opposite Paramount Studios. And I'm like, am I in the right place? Like, there's no way my little film's fucking planned, right? But yeah, it was incredible, and reaction was really good as well. So yeah, definitely a highlight for me.
It's just when you're referencing the small community in England, it makes it sound like Deliverance, like we're all sitting on the porch playing banjo. Hey there, yeah. Right, with our teeth falling out as we speak. Down it. Bruna has literally been dragged in from the audience, just like she was sitting there thinking, you don't look interested.
Come as well. Come join us. Bruna says she's known me. Bruna is one of our most talented writers for the London Horror Society. She's most committed and one of the most passionate fans of the genre areas, so she is well worthy of our place here. So, yeah.
Carry on talking, I'm chewing.
Yeah, that's it. I'm just taking the lead. So let's, riff.
Highlights of the year for you?
Personally, or in the horror.
Well, in the horror community. Or personally, we can go into that.
I mean, I was really glad, I mean, personally being really selfish, I was really glad to do my dissertation on horror films. So that was awesome for me. But also, I really liked seeing some films like Raw, which was something that I really wanted to watch. I watched it. But that was, what, in January? So I cannot have the highlight of my in January.
Well, why not? You know, well, I suppose you can do. You start on a high and it all goes to shit from there.
But I think that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, I really like some other films, but like It, I was really expecting, but then it wasn't as good. I don't know.
I really liked it. I mean, what we've done, unfortunately, Bruna, again, she hasn't had a chance to throw her films in yet. What we did was we invited the panel and some others to submit their films of the year. Raw was actually up there. I'm not sure where it was. I don't know if you can scroll through it.
That was number 3, I think, for me.
Yeah. And we saw Raw really early in the year, so like,
February.
we're with that as well. Like,
yeah. And actually, do you know, most of my top 3, I think, I actually saw in January and February.
When did we see Raw?
February.
Yeah. And it was, and then one of my others is A Ghost Story, and I saw that very early.
Oh, yeah.
So again, mine hasn't really
No,
come
I'd say
back up,
Get Out was very early. I think,
Get Out was
yeah.
very early.
You were,
So does
Hounds
it?
of Love was there.
Hounds
of Love
my
was
number 1. Yeah.
So does it not rank in your top films of the year, top horrors of the year?
What?
It as a film. Did you not enjoy it?
I wouldn't put it on my top 5. I liked it. I liked when I was in the cinema watching it, but then as I got time to think, I was like, did I really like it? But also another film that I really liked was Gerald's Game.
Okay, I think a few people voted for that as well.
Yeah, that came out like 1 or 2 months ago, so that was trying to get back there.
Have you guys seen Gerald's Game? Or I've not seen it yet.
That actually had, for me, the only moment of the year which really made me cringe.
Oh, that's
No, if people have seen it, know the bit. But yeah, it was
In a good way or a bad way?
in a good way.
In a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah, it's an incredible piece of special effects.
Oh.
I mean, even you know, I heard all this stuff about Raw, people leaving cinemas and throwing up. When I watched it, I thought, okay, it's quite gory, but there wasn't the violence with it or anything like that. It was more blood and just ick. But this scene in Gerald's Game just had this sort of, you could feel the pain of what she was doing. It just, it was fantastic.
Yeah, and Raw. I mean, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, the interesting thing about Gerald's Game is because it was a Netflix production, and I actually saw it at the BFI with the director, and it was packed, like it was completely full, and everybody was cringing. And I don't like people that talk during films. I'm like, shh. But then the director, also, at the end of the film, he said that the best part was when everybody was cringing. I was like, I'm like, oh really?
I suppose as a film director, that's what you want. You want a reaction from your audience. So everybody's kind of like, oh my god. At that moment when you want them to say, oh my god, or to cringe, or to hide behind the scenes, then that's you've done your job.
Yeah.
So don't knock the director very nice. Obviously what he wanted. But Raw and Gerald's Game, I think, did they make the top 10?
They did, yeah, both were quite high up there. I don't know what actual number, I haven't counted.
Somewhere around.
I only got this like 10 minutes ago. Probably, so.
Shame on you, Dane. That's not my bad.
And you haven't put it in any sort of order.
Well, it doesn't do that on the app. It was a free app.
Just, that one's got 10 next to it, the one has 1.
It was a free app on my phone. I can't work it out. It's doing really cheaply.
Yeah, Excel has really terrible sorting capabilities.
It wouldn't do the sorting on my phone. I'm telling you, Excel sort it out, or I've just done it wrong. I should need to watch a YouTube video to fix that. But I know Raw is in. I think Gerald's Game got a few votes as well. I don't know.
The top ones were you've got. Do you want to go?
Yeah, go through the top ones then.
So you had Get Out,
which got
that
loads
got
of
the
votes.
most. Yeah. Then looks like It was next. Babysitter.
That got a few. That's another Netflix one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really
I absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
It was
really, really good.
It's on my list.
Oh, have you seen that, Richard? No.
It was a
Anyone
really
else?
nice surprise. That
Yeah, it's
being G as well.
Yeah, I know. Because I saw
Yeah.
G had released a horror film and
that almost
instantly, I think you can't do it on Netflix. Like you blacklist something, so it never comes up in your feed.
Yeah.
But I heard so much good stuff about it.
Yeah.
I really
like
enjoyed
it.
it.
I think it's perfect. I think it's written brilliantly. It's played out brilliantly. It's so self-aware.
It's just really well made, isn't it?
It's an homage to cheesy 80s funny horror films, and it's some of the set pieces in it are just incredible.
But brilliant.
And
Dialogue is fantastic in it as well.
Really, really good. If no one's seen it,
yeah, no, I enjoyed the babysitter. I was surprised. I was quite prepared to hate it, but
yeah. I think that's where I was starting off with such a rock bottom.
but it was really, really entertaining, really enjoyable.
I think that's why I haven't seen it yet, because I had no expectations for it, and just before that, what was it from the Netflix film, the evil thing, the
Little Evil?
Little Evil.
I hated it. I was like, no, I hate this film.
Yeah, I think
and
everyone
then
hated it.
the babysitter came out, I was like, I don't know if we should, but now I'm gonna watch it.
Little Evil is a spoof of The Omen, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't bother with that one.
No.
Just looked rubbish. I couldn't be bothered with that. But the babysitter, I think you actually mentioned the babysitter, and I thought I'll give it a look, and I think Paddy Murphy had mentioned it as well. Someone else had mentioned it.
It was fantastic.
I saw,
really good film.
For me, it seemed to be people ranging. That it was people who loved it and people who hated it. And I thought, okay, well, you're not getting people just going meh. So it felt like it was worth a watch.
Yeah,
and the fact that McGee directed it, that was the one thing which kept putting me off watching it. And that's all I loved for it. So I thought, and people who I trust with their opinions, so gave it a go, and it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. Going back to the list, we've got Get Out, which is the number one, and it's. I mean, Get Out and it were quite far ahead, which is surprising because they're both mainstream horrors, and it's not the usual, really, especially within our community, that the mainstream horror will get so many votes. You know, because we see so much. I mean, like you see a lot of talented indie horror makers. Doggy got a couple of votes, by the way.
I wonder if Get Out is
that mainstream?
I wouldn't consider. I think actually it was catapulted into the mainstream because it was so good. I think that was a brilliant example of actually indie filmmaking and where we're going now with the getting easier to consume films from an audience point of view. Get Out was fantastic because it wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying it's small budget by any stretch of imagination, bearing in mind what these guys worked on, but compared to something like it had nowhere near the budget of it. And
marketing as well.
So I think
marketing was through the roof.
5 million max for House,
which actually director debut as well, and I think the word of mouth played so much with Get Out, and the fact that it's phenomenal. I mean,
it's very socially relevant.
It is.
Oh, it's come around at a perfect time, especially in America. I mean, with the whole Donald Trump thing, and then that comes out, it's a perfect. It's the perfect opposite to what the country was talking about at that time.
Yeah, Trump. But unfortunately, you can't get much scarier than Trump, can you?
I think actually you talked about Trump, and I think what we've seen, and especially if for anybody's at Fright Fest, is a reaction to what's happening there. Because the one thing I picked up on this year was there was lots and lots of more light horror around. I mean, things like The Babysitter, Little Evil was trying to do it, but. There was a lot more. I mean, it was tons of horror comedy.
Even stuff like 68 Kills.
Which was on my list. I like 68.
I would even throw it into that because I don't think I'm kind of the same with Bruno. I mean, I did like it, I did enjoy it, but actually, when I look back on it, I don't know if I consider it a horror film. Almost, it was kind of more sort of fantasy-based thing. And although I'm not faulting any of the performances in it, I'm not faulting pretty much anything. I thought it's a really good film, but. I wouldn't say I found it scary. Certainly not the same reaction I got when I watched the.
No, I think it actually fell into something else. I think it done really well because of Stranger Things. Yeah, actually, I think we're in that whole nostalgia element, and to bring it back, and then it was also really well done with a whole coming out in 2017, 27 years after the original. Anyway, just that whole. I think everyone got into that.
Yeah, it had a very Amblin feel about it. The Amblin movies of the 80s, like the Goonies or Back to the Future.
But then I would agree with Bruno. I don't think it. I really enjoyed it when I watched it, but I haven't come away thinking about it that much. Yeah. And I was a big fan of the TV version purely for Tim Curry and why I feel Bill Skarsgård, isn't it? Why I feel he done really well. It just didn't have that little bit extra that Tim Curry brought to it. I feel like I mean, when you say that, Tim Curry done it on TV and we're still talking about it now.
Because
that's incredible.
Tim Curry did it as what I think they did better in the TV one with the clown compared to the film was the clown in the film looked mean and evil from the beginning. It wasn't Tim Curry's was like almost somebody that could becken a kid to them and then turn.
I feel like that's the problem with a lot of modern horror films, though. I feel like this whole idea of like, okay, we've got a scare, like the evil in sees a clown or a doll, or so we've got to make it look really evil. It can't just look normal. Where actually, if it was normal, that's a little bit more scary, right? That's a little bit
with anything.
With anything, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the fact that it can, you know, and I agree completely.
So, have any films scared us this year? Anyone?
James, I know too hardened to it.
I mean, I know James, you sat through about 200 films just for the festival.
I did, yes. I watched a lot of indie horror.
Was there any standout scares for you?
There was the Madam in Black had a couple of big jumpy moments for me. I thought that was good. But there's a lot of I think sort of psychological horror seen more than just sort of, I don't know what I'm trying to say it, but I think, you know, not so many big jump moments, no, I think this year.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's, a couple of you have referenced it, that you just said it there, that we've become so accustomed to it now that it stops being scary. I think that's the thing I liked about it, is that it just went for the drama of it. It just kind of created this story, and it became almost like children going on an adventure rather than a horror movie.
Yeah.
You know, and they were dealing with things like the Goonies. I suppose maybe that's what, like you said, Stranger Things as well. Stranger Things has kind of brought all that back now, hasn't it?
If they knew what they were doing, you know, the whole like nostalgia, and actually changed the year it was set, didn't they? It's set in a different year.
Yeah, the original is set in the 50s.
In the 50s, isn't it? And they changed this one to bring it more into line with your 80s and stuff.
Which I think worked.
Which worked, and it was genius, you know. And then that will play into the sequel when they can now set it more modern day.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on my own in Camden Odeon. Sit on my own. Okay. I sat. Well, they felt so sorry for me. They gave me a premiere seat for no extra charge, and I sat at the back, and there was a moment. One of the cleaners came in, and he was like an elderly guy. And he walked down a few steps, and I'm looking at him, thinking, "Shall I?" Because he hadn't seen me.
Pushing down the stairs. No.
Well, I didn't. But I was just so tempted to just go. Whoa. But if a guy collapses and dies, what do I say? I just go and sit back and say, "Oh, no idea." The guy just collapsed. It was just weird. Just went down the stairs, bang. Fuck. Do I get my refund?
That's why you're not allowed into most of the cinemas.
That's right. Yeah.
But it didn't scare me. And you know, when you go and see a horror movie, especially on your own, sitting in the dark, you should be shitting yourself by the end of it. Really, if it's done right.
Well, I had that with It Follows, because I saw that on my own in the screen, and where I saw it, it was up in Milton Keynes where I was working at the time, and it was an Odeon, but it was in the middle of this almost like a deserted area. So I came out, there were no lights anywhere, there was no people. It was just really uncomfortable.
Perfect. Yeah.
So we talk about being hardened to it. There are still films that can get to you if they're done right.
Yeah.
So
that was a very clever film, though, isn't it? Because you have that thing of, you know, most things you're drawing someone into a scene, but in fact you're looking behind the scene constantly.
It's genius. It is a perfect modern slasher film in a way. It's all the tropes of a slasher film. You don't really look at it like that, but it is. You know, the whole idea of you're being chased and then the ending. You know, the ending for me was perfect. And it's one of them things that 50% of people that see it notice the ending, the other people don't. Where they're meant to have got rid of, like, you know, the thing that's chasing them. And then if you actually look at the end shot right in the distance, there's someone walking behind them. And it is that idea of, is that just someone walking behind them, or is that you know, them being chased again?
I think that sort of theme of unnerving, the feeling of being really unnerved or tested by watching something is kind of what I tend to look out for, or what I would consider being scared by. You know, when you know, something like probably my favourite film of the year was an Australian film called Hounds of Love, which saw a few times, and it's horrendous, based on a true story of a girl that gets kidnapped and locked in a room and has the worst sort of stuff happen to her. But where this differs and why it was so powerful to me compared to something similar trope like The Seasoning House or something like that, was that anything sort of bad happened behind closed doors. You never actually saw any of the abuse, and it was done so well that, you know, anytime you could even sort of feel anything coming, it was beyond the tough watch. And it was, you know, to do that without actually showing or having to feel the need to show torture or something like that, which they could have easily done, actually added to the whole experience and made it far more scary, I think, than if
it's a brilliantly made film.
I mean, you saying, actually coming back to your question about has anything scared you, Probably not in the way we would think of being scared, but if anything this year got me like that, it was Hounds of Love. You know,
that was
there's a bit right at the end, and I won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but not often in film anymore do I sit there and literally, you know, your palms get sweaty and your heart's going, and I've seen that film twice, you know, and both times, you know, Chris is looking at me and I'm in fucking bits, like just like holy shit, like is this gonna? But it does that to you, and I think in that way I was scared, and I was scared for the main character, and I really, really felt for it. And to do that, and to do it right with that subject matter as well, that's not easy.
And that was the directorial debut as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic job.
I've got a brilliant job by the director and a fantastic script, and the performances in it are absolutely outstanding.
The performances
it's just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the soundtrack as well.
Soundtrack as well. Yeah.
I think when you're looking at Australian horror, a lot of people, you know, will see things like Wolf Creek and that are very prominent in there, and they've got that sort of. It's gotten a bit of a notoriety for having that brutalness with their stuff.
Yeah,
but this year with like Hounds of Love and Killing Ground as well, which again it's a very bleak film, and it's got that the you know, abuse and stuff like that. But again, they don't show it, and they didn't need to.
No.
It didn't lessen the impact of what the film was about by not.
Well, that's what makes it scary, because they let us know what's going to happen, and we're all just sitting. And you are through Hands. There's so many moments through Hands of Love. You're thinking, oh God.
I think the first time the wife goes around with the bucket cleaning up.
That's just.
And like you say, you know, kind of you feel utterly disgusted afterwards. And I'd read that it was kind of based on a true story, and then kind of did a bit of research. And I think the filmmakers have been quite careful to say no, it's not. But when you look at the similarities,
it
is, and like you said, just, you know, kind of in shell shock for about a week after seeing it.
Yeah, because that made quite a few lists. That rated quite highly as well. Hands of Love. I know that was on your best list, wasn't it?
I just think not enough people have seen it.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's
available. I think it's been picked up by Arrow.
You can buy it.
Arrow. Buy it. So it's, if you want to buy a lovely Christmas present for a family member that you maybe don't like that much.
For anybody you think's had too happy a Christmas,
buy
that for them, and it will bring them down a level.
It does. It's really heavy going for anybody that hasn't seen it. But it is such a good film. I mean, it's a masterclass in filmmaking on
really
all levels. It's
very good.
It's another one that taps into the nostalgia that you were talking. I think it's set in 1987 or something as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that retro feel.
It does.
I think,
it does.
People our age as well, harking back to the
it
time
does.
when you were scared by movies.
Yeah, definitely. And there's the idea of that era is a little bit scary. You know, the idea of. She doesn't have a mobile phone. Yeah. She can't ring anyone. She can't, you know.
The warnings aren't up on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there isn't warnings on the internet. You know, someone can go missing, and hardly anyone knows about it. You know, it's not like now someone will go missing, and you know everyone sees on Facebook, you know, or Twitter or whatever. Oh, someone's gone missing. Someone you've never heard of, but then in a great way that sends loads of people out looking for that person. Back then.
Yeah, it kind of takes away the tension in the film, doesn't it, when you've got the internet or a mobile phone to get you out of the situation.
Yeah,
which is probably why so many films are getting set in the 80s now.
That actually is
very true.
Yeah, one of the things people are doing is setting them back now because they don't have that, or they'll immediately put them somewhere where they check their phone, they've got no signal. Yeah. Those are the
another film.
We played with that, but we rather than doing that because I've seen it so many times, we got a character to drop his mobile phone in the toilet. So that was it. That was the way of cutting them off instead.
Yeah, a lot of films. It's not a horror film, but another film I really enjoyed this year was Free Fire.
Okay.
And and they do it in that. They set that in the 70s, and the whole idea is set in the 70s was you didn't want mobile phones. It's the only reason it's in the 70s. Like, it ruins it if there's mobile phones. I'm done.
It does.
You could have done it in 1998.
Technology.
Just bring it back.
That's a great film if no one's seen it. I know it's not horror, but
that's Ben Wheatley, right?
Ben Wheatley.
Yeah, that is a good film. I like that. Good cast as well in that.
That was one of my favourites.
It's hilarious as well. Like it's really, really funny.
Yeah, no, he's a good filmmaker, and he's just so prolific, Ben Wheatley. He seems to be covering every genre as well.
He's wonderful bringing out his cast. I mean, I love him for bringing Alice Lowe to the forefront. Who's one of my favourite actors around at the moment, and it's great what he does.
Yeah. Any worst films of the year? Just out of curiosity.
Oh.
Cool.
Because we've seen some. I mean, we have seen some really good ones. I know we've seen some bad ones. I mean, some films are so bad. Some films are so bad we actually enjoyed them. I know Offensive at Offensive at 666, which was such a. Did you see that?
I did.
It's such a bad film, but I loved it. I even put it in my top 10 because it was just so entertaining. It was just such a fun film to sit through. It wasn't brilliantly made. It wasn't always brilliantly acted, and the script was a bit crap at times. But I really, really loved Offensive, and especially the last shot, which I won't say. I really enjoyed that.
The idea of the kind of gangs of youths with kind of bandanas over their faces was, I find that quite a menacing concept. But it is. I mean, but again, enjoyable movie. Yeah, it's one of those things we're all budding for the good guy, right? Oh, go on, you American English French Charles Bronson. Come on, give us some action. It was great. The bloke from The Bill, which was a British TV show years ago. But I love that. But the worst one, I think for me, The Chair was awful. The Chair was really terrible. Bad.
It didn't feel like it was finished.
Oh man, it just seemed like they made 3 or 4 different films and kind of bunged them all together. Have you seen The Chair? That was really bad.
And I was really luckily nursing a really bad hangover at 666.
I think so were you.
So was I.
I think the real troopers that were around 14 ROWNTREE.
Punishing ourselves. That was truly awful.
I had no idea what was going on in that film at all, ever. And it also felt everything was so close. It was like they must have got all the shots wrong and just cropped in, cut out everything surrounding it, including story. Yeah. I mean, it was when I finished. I still didn't know what it was about. I didn't know anything that happened. No, and somehow they managed to get Roddy Piper in there.
Yeah, and sadly it was his last film.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, I don't suggest anything, but who knows? Maybe that's what finished him. I mean, that was a really bad film.
For me, it was the remake of Inside. That was the worst film I saw this year.
Really? Yeah. I haven't seen that. I can't believe anything is worse than The Chair.
I
mean, the thing with The Chair, they even give you badges when you leave saying, I survived The Chair. And you think, is this irony?
Yeah, it's irony. Yeah.
Well, the difference for me was, The Chair was crowdfunded as well. So it wasn't a big funded film. They didn't have tons and tons of investment. Inside was a fairly decent budgeted film. It was a studio film, and yet it was still terrible. The script had so many flaws, so many logic issues, logistical issues. They would turn up in weird places, and you have no idea how they got there. The characters' decisions just didn't make any sense. And when you've got people that have been brought in specifically because they've got experience, they've got the talent behind it, you think you could have your options of who you can bring in because you've got enough money to pay people, and yet you still come up with a mess. And that's where I get annoyed. An indie film which screws up and doesn't do very well, they've tried. Yeah. Most indie films do fail because they don't have the release or they don't have the budget to make their vision how they want it to be. But you just go, you put everything into that, you did it, and you feel a lot less upset when it's not so good. But with a film that's had the ability and the time and everything, it's.
I completely agree. I find that every year with me. I feel like I try and stay clear of films that I think are going to be bad, but now and again you hold out hope. And again, it's probably not horror, but a film I absolutely detested this year was Justice League, and exactly for them reasons. When you have what is considered the most expensive film ever made of 300 million, and you have everything behind you to fuck it up so bad, like and then the other one on that is more horror, which wasn't like awful, but in terms of what it could have been, it really let me down. Was The Mummy, or Tom Cruise. And again, it's the idea of what that could have been, especially years ago when Del Toro was going to head up that whole dark universe and do that. And considering this was meant to be a jumping off point, well, after Dracula Untold, once they was like, nope, scrap that one, and it was like again.
But it's kind of like that. It's, we'll start with Dracula Untold.
There's good stuff in it. It's just like they went right. We need to make a horror film, but we've hired Tom Cruise, so we need action. and it was just this really like, oh fuck, like
And they picked a director with no experience.
It just weren't, and nothing that pointed towards going. I have no problem with first-time directors doing stuff, or people that have done very small stuff, stepping up and doing stuff. I think it can work really well. But if you look at Gareth Edwards when he stepped up to do Godzilla, I thought he'd done a really good job on that. It wasn't a perfect film, but it's better than most other Godzilla films I've seen recently.
But then he did Rogue One, so
it is frustrating though, you know, when they keep relaunching franchises. That's really it is frustrating when they relaunch a franchise because they fucked one up. So like Dracula on top, right, we'll just pretend that didn't happen. Let's start the money, we'll release the money. Okay, people didn't really like that. Let's just kind of ignore it for a couple of years.
It's coming up, and I'm really excited.
But aren't they just kind of next year? I mean, I'm hoping we're not sitting here thinking biggest disappointment of the year.
Yeah, no.
Because I am allowing myself to believe that it's going to be really good.
No. The problem is, people have been saying about John Carpenter's behind it. John Carpenter's behind it, so it's going to be great.
He's not.
He doesn't care.
No.
He literally doesn't care. If his films get remade, he doesn't care. No. He will put his name to anything. So having him behind it these days is no stand for approval.
No. And I can't actually remember the last time he made a good film, John Carpenter. When was the last good John Carpenter film?
I didn't mind Walled. That was okay.
I thought that was awful.
But he said good. You know, you're thinking it's all right.
It's all right. Yeah. No. You're right. For a great John Carpenter film, years.
It has been years and years.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because his early stuff was so good. When he just started out, there was so many good films.
I think for me, In the Mouth of Madness was his last good one.
That was
94.
Could well be. Got protesters outside against that. John Carpenter made loads of good films.
I think the last great thing I saw.
Ghost of Mars, great.
Do you see Cigarette Burns?
Yes.
The Masters of Horror kind of short film he done. Yeah, Cigarette Burns was really good by John Carpenter. But
someone's really disagreeing with you.
They've really done like John Carpenter.
Going back to a question you asked earlier.
Yes.
Sorry. You were talking about things that scared you and jumps and stuff, and so it remembered one. The biggest jump I had this year was in Victor Crowley.
Okay, I didn't see that one.
You didn't say it was. Adam Green did this shot where you know what's coming, and it just keeps it going and keeps it going, and you're watching it going, I know that you're going to make me jump, so I'm prepared for it, and then it happens, and fuck me. You lifted out. It was such a jump, and that was the one thing everybody said, that they jumped even though they knew it was coming. So even a horror comedy can still give you.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a great moment in
brilliant jump.
Cannibals and Carpet Fitters near the beginning. Do you know which one I mean?
Yeah.
It's so well done,
yeah.
and you do not see it. You don't
yeah.
expect it, and it's just. And you can't. It's so well done. You kind of want to just stop the film and applaud because it's a brilliant moment. And that's another good film, Cannibals and Carpet Fitters.
I did really jump at that moment, actually.
Yeah. It's so well done though, and it just comes out of nowhere. They pulled it off brilliantly. James Bushe directed it. He just pulled it off brilliantly. And it's quite the nice thing as well that within the network, or within the UK, there's been so many good films this year. And like when we were doing the top films list. A lot of them were popping up. Yours popped up. Cannibals popped up a couple of times.
I think what's really nice is over the past couple of years, I think a few people have been going through the short film, motions and stuff like that. And now, a couple of people this year stepped up with films such as yourself and James and stuff like that. And then next year and the year after, there's a couple of us that are going to try and jump in that feature thing. And what's really nice, it's kind of all come around. Everyone's kind of, cutting the way for everyone else to come through, and there's this kind of real resurgence of British horror that is happening, and it's good. It's all
everybody's really supportive of each
other.
Oh, without a doubt,
which
is something.
Without a doubt.
I think it's one thing.
It's just hiding the jealousy when it's not us.
Yeah, everybody's nice to their faces. It's behind their backs. That's where it all goes off. But you mentioned there that the future. I mean, obviously you're getting distribution next year. What have you got lined up work-wise? Have you got another film lined up?
Yeah. Hopefully, be looking to do that sometime around April, May. So going to do another Kickstarter campaign before that, obviously, to raise the funds. But we'll see how it goes. It's tricky. We've kind of discussed the last Kickstarter campaign we did ran through. It was kind of the second week in January for like 8 weeks, and it's a slightly tricky time. Because obviously everybody's skipping after Christmas, right? So it's not ideal, but at the same time, I think there's less sort of competition, there's less noise to get it out there at that time of year, because everybody's kind of gearing up, and it's a new year, I'll do something good, and then they don't actually start it until the middle of the year. So we're kind of in quite a good place, I think, with going for the launch then, and hopefully we'll have as many.
Plus people can spend their Christmas money.
Yeah.
Well, they do say actually. They do say statistically the best time to run a Kickstarter or crowdfund is towards the end of the year or the beginning of the year, because actually people are more giving over Christmas. So they actually said, if you're going to do one, the best time to do it.
Yeah, it's probably selling all their gifts on eBay that they didn't want.
Yeah.
That's probably it. Yeah, that's probably it.
A bit of money from them. Can you tell us anything about the film?
Just that it's a much smaller scope. So it's going to be a home invasion movie. So 5 casts instead of 23 in one location instead of being all over the southeast of England. Kind of trying to make it a bit easier on ourselves, but also kind of play with things a bit more, like having being able to light everything nicely rather than being out in the open air and kind of relying on the sun, which you can't do in this country.
No. How long did it take you to shoot Gossett, by the way?
It was 18 shooting days over 11 consecutive weekends. It was quite.
Wow.
Done really well. That did really well.
Quite a stretch. It was because we had to go back and do one sort of half pickup day as well in January, and then a lot of it's set in the forest, and all of the bloody leaves had come off the trees. So we had to frame everything really tightly for the pickup shoots, which
you didn't try to stick the leaves back up,
or you didn't have somebody in post during one.
Sticking the leaves back on is kind of what I do for a living in real life, so I'm kind of used to it, but also know how much it costs and how long it takes to put leaves on a tree. So, just keep it all tight, face shots only.
And you mentioned Halloween, the sequel, which is it a direct sequel to the original? Is that what they're doing?
So it's a sequel, I think, after the second.
After the second one.
I
So
thought
one and
they're
two.
ignoring the second as well.
Danny McBride said early on it follows the second two, but then they've come out now and said, well, it might be the first one, but I think it's going on the early reports. It follows the Jamie Lee Curtis too, and then the 4th season of The Witch. And then they're ignoring the whole 4 or 5. H2O.
Well, H2O ignored 4 or 5
Yeah,
as well.
and then now they're ignoring it again.
Yeah, because they killed
her. Yeah.
It's the Halloween multiverse,
Yeah.
is what it is. Is there anything else you're looking forward to for 2018? I mean, you're still going to be writing for London Horror Society.
Which is the highlight of anyone's here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you mean personally?
Well, you can go for anything you want.
Well, personally,
Being dragged in at the last minute.
I don't know. I was actually reading this morning the post at the London Horror Society about the films we look for next year, and there's The Nun, which I'm really hoping to see as well. But I don't know, to be honest. I would have to think.
And The Nun, that's a spin-off of a spin-off, is it?
Spin-off from Hungary.
Yeah, which isn't a spin-off.
Oh right, but wasn't it? Is Annabelle the spin-off?
Annabelle's the spin-off.
I thought did The Nun not spin-off from Annabelle?
No, The Nun's a spin-off of Conjuring 2.
Fuck knows, I just so complicated.
It's a little bit convoluted, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even The Conjuring has its own universe.
Yeah, I know, but it does. But that's Blumhouse, isn't it? They've kind of
Well,
expanded
actually, has any of you all seen Annabelle 2?
No.
Yeah.
So you are right. It is technically a spin-off of Annabelle.
Is it?
Yeah. So there's a bit. There's a bit in Annabelle 2, which is very, very slight. But it's like a photo frame of the girl that originally owned the doll or something like that. And then as it like turns to the side in the background, you
That's more
see.
of a set. Because The Nun's in the Conjuring, so it's a spin-off.
Yeah, but I think it's. I don't know.
Stop arguing. Stop being contrary. Anything else? Is that just a few films that you're looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, to be honest, I cannot think of any right now. But if you give me 2 minutes,
We can come back to. I mean, Halloween. I think Halloween. The new Halloween's probably going to be up on a few people's lists to see. I'm a bit tired of the whole Halloween frequency. We're obviously not Damon, but other people might be looking forward to it.
Yeah,
what about you anyway, Damon? 2018. What's coming with you?
I don't know actually. I've been so busy the last however long. I haven't really looked forward to what's coming out. I've been more concentrated on what I want to do.
No, I mean for you personally.
For me personally, well, I've got hopefully shooting a short early next year, which you might be aware of. It's going to be my first foray into more of a comedy arena.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it sounds funny to us because I've co-written it with Tony.
I make myself laugh all the time. It doesn't really work for other people, unfortunately.
And fingers crossed, feature, which I'm almost done writing.
And you've been planning the feature for a while.
Been planning it for a while. Well, I wrote one, and I wanted to make a contained film all in one place with a small cast. and my ideas started getting away with me, and ended up being really big, and there's no way I would have been able to afford to do it. And so I started then trying to think of another way of bringing it smaller. So I started another one. It got away from me. So I stopped before I spent too much time on it, and then I finally had this third idea, which is going to be mostly set in a interrogation room in the police station, told through various flashbacks. Again, each location is going to be quite small, with a small cast, and yeah, so fingers crossed I can get that in front of the camera at some point next year. Just need to find some money.
Yeah,
if anybody's got any money they don't want to put towards anything other than a film,
that's always the killer, the money.
So yeah, and
I'll keep an eye on that. Scott?
Feature film. That's the
copycat.
Big one next year. Yeah, definitely. So the feature film, we are scarily getting advanced now on it, and it is pretty much going to happen. We may have the money in place by the end of the year, maybe. We're literally in them, discussions at the minute.
Then you've got to trust your slightly shady producer with
and
it.
then, exactly. I mean, look at it. So me and Chris are producing a feature called Walking Against the Rain. As I said, we're quite far on that now, and we are talking with people that I potentially want as lead actress. That obviously all comes down to if we pull that budget in, obviously. And then
we're under pressure on camera.
Okay,
interesting.
Yeah,
that's the trick.
That's the trick. If we pull the budget in, what that really means is if you pull the budget in.
As he leans forward in Chris's direction. Yeah,
that's exactly it. It's the game you've got to play.
That's been very positive, and I know that the feedback you've had on the script is very positive.
Yeah, we've. You've read the script yourself, and you're also an associate producer on it, so throw yourself in there. But so we're it's been and it's different. We wanted to do something different, and we wanted the concept of the film is basically two characters. That's it, and they're in communication through these like radio mics, post-apocalyptic type setting. But they can only speak certain times a day. So the idea was that we then had to make this film where dialogue is at an absolute minimum, can only be used in certain places. So all of a sudden you're like, well, how the hell do we write a screenplay out of that? And we managed to get to a place where you won't look at it as your traditional, 80, 90, 100 page screenplay. But what we've got, everyone involved, happily read it and gone, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. This works. And even when I've sent it out to the agents or the actors I'm looking at, even they're not going, you're crazy, go away. They're like, oh, actually, this is cool. So it's this idea. I was like, can we do this? Is this too different? But no, people are actually taking on board. And I think if we get there and we make it, and we're planning on shooting in May, I think it will be different. I think it will be, if it's good, I'll let other people judge. But I think it will be a little bit different, and it will be something that hopefully stands out to what a few other people are doing.
And you're hoping that will shoot early next year?
May is when we penciled in 15 days in May to get it all done, and then it basically gets shot over. We're hoping to rent 2 villages, and
I've seen the locations that you scouted. They're really nice.
Two whole villages,
yeah.
Like Emmerdale.
Yeah. So
get the band
one character's in one character's in the other, and then we're gonna bring them to meet in the middle. So it's a very simple setup, but it's more to do with the characters and the journey of getting there, and also it kind of takes what we were speaking about earlier about this whole idea of like, now what do we in a horror film or any film, technology presents an issue. Well, what we want to try and do is actually look at, okay, we become so accustomed to it, and I've got cousins that are younger that have grown up in a world where they know no different. It's not like us where we come from not knowing to knowing. They know nothing, and the idea was, okay, if they lost all that, how do they survive? How do they not only if they lost family and stuff like that we almost take for granted, but what if they lost any form of communication? What if they could only communicate 2-3 times a day? What if there was no internet, there was no So it's that idea of technology.
I'm just breaking out of cold sweat.
Yeah.
And moving on to James, 2018.
2018, yeah, and we're making a couple of short films as well. So we do make films as well. But we're shooting one in February, which is really looking forward to. It's sort of a film noir comedy about a man who has a superpower where he can turn everything into film noir. And he's at the psychiatrist explaining this and proves it, but he doesn't want to be cured of it really, but he has to because his fiancée doesn't like the slapper she turns into in film noir. And she's a very sweet sort of innocent girl and just turns into this sort of smoking vamp Jessica Rabbit type whenever he's in film noir, and he quite likes that. So it's but then it turns out that the whole thing is a heist on the psychiatrist in a very film noir way. So yeah, it's a really very well written, sort of twisty, funny, very funny piece. Yeah.
So we've got that one. What else have we got? Did you say you had a couple of shorts? Or?
Yeah. Well, yes. An animation. We've just with Martin Stocks actually from Tories. Yeah. Yeah, we're working on an animation set in sort of a purgatory limbo land. So yeah, we just met with the animator yesterday. So yeah, so it's good. That's a go, which is great.
And are you working on a feature as well?
We're well, our latest feature is finished now, so that's sort of doing festivals. That's taken forever. It's about 6 years. This feature has taken from when we started shooting to finishing. I mean, the actors are delighted because they were so much younger. But yeah, that's we've got Joanna Lumley in that and Reece Shearsmith. So we've already another producer came on and has already sold it to some American TV channels. So we've got the money back, which is great. And then we're trying to write the script for The Monster, which was a short we made,
which is now available to view on YouTube. The short.
Yes, yeah. Bobby's put it up on YouTube now. Yeah.
That's a good short. You've seen Monster? No. I'll check it out. Check out Monster. That's a really good short. I like that one.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with the feature.
Yeah.
It's a good film. That's a good comedy short. Yeah, so nice. We're running out of time, unfortunately. Anything else you wanted to add? Did you think of anything else?
I did, but
go on.
I did think about a film that just like Halloween, it's not going to be made by a horror director, but A Quiet Place is going to be directed by John Krasinski. That he's like the guy from The Office, and I think he wrote it with his wife actually.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to see that.
The trailer's been out for that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that does look really good.
It does remind me of the film that the Duffer Brothers directed before Stranger Things, Hidden. So I'm like, it might be the same.
Yeah,
that's
the
the
concept of that is certainly
Yeah.
good.
So Bruna will be getting the preview tickets for that. Anything else anybody wants to add? All happy with that?
What are you looking forward to?
Yes.
What are
you doing next?
I'm just looking forward to saying goodbye to 2017. To be honest, I am.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm like Scott referenced. I'm involved with his feature. I'm just looking to play a zombie or something. I just want a cameo. No, I'm involved in Scott's. I'm working on a short with Damon, and I have been asked to co-write a feature script with the producer of Scott's film. So be working on that as soon as I get.
Okay.
No, the other one.
No, another producer.
So yeah, I'll be working on that at some point. I've got to finish up another feature script for the same guy. Yeah. So it's all very incestuous. So yeah, I should be kept busy, and hopefully I can get all that together. It's quite an exciting script. It's quite an exciting concept. So I'm looking forward to writing that. I've got some good ideas for that. So that should be exciting. But that's it really for me. I think I just.
What? Just two features.
Just two things. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then obviously we'll try and get hanging with, get going again. And the quiz. What's the bloody question?
Yeah.
Oh God,
yes. Which we forget about that. Which we're hoping to shoot another episode of that early next year.
Yes.
I can't
More
remember.
bells, more whistles.
Yes, we're getting bigger and better. Look out for that. But basically, you've heard it all. Look out for all the stuff. I mean, Unrestricted View is a great festival. That's going to be. I'm looking forward to that again next year. That was a really good experience. I mean, that was quite a highlight actually. That and 666 were really, really good, weren't they? They were great festivals. So that's looking forward to more of the same next year, I think. But meanwhile, Thank you to James, Scott, Damon, Bruna, Richard and Chris, and of course to me, Tony Sands. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next year. Thank you guys.